Alrighty, yeah, you excited, Benny? Is that good? Yeah, is that what you want? What's that, eh, Ben? Is that your beef rib? Yeah. So, yeah, that is... Sorry, guys, I'll try to give you a bit of a picture here. Yeah, so that's a beef rib. Frozen. As you will probably have noticed by now. Sorry, guys, I just gotta put you down for a second. I need both hands to be able to open this, and I need both hands to film, so. Anyways, yes, so this is a beef flat rib by Big Country Raw. Big Country Raw. I happen to prefer to work with local retailers and producers. I have friends who are hunters and who give me their various bits from their kills. So I get a wide variety of different sources for Benny. Try to avoid imported products in general. Especially if I have an alternative, I'll tend towards going for the local product where I can. I mean, where there's a significant legitimate difference in the product, by getting an imported product that I have some significant advantage, I might be willing to consider using that product over a local product. But in my experience, most local products are pretty good, and I am satisfied with their quality and the value of what I'm getting from them. So, yeah, this is just a single beef rib, i.e. cow. A dog like Benny won't have much difficulty with this. However, most smaller animals would have a fair amount of difficulty getting through this. Even for Benny, it's not going to be like a chicken or something, like any bird for that matter. He can chomp through those in any kind of effort without he can show you that through that without any effort at all. But cow bones have a lot more strength and resilience and internal structures that birds just don't have. So these types of bones are going to last a lot longer than a bone from a chicken or even a small mammal. However, he loves them, so I don't have any complaints. Is that good, Ben? I don't think he's a particular fan of the light being in his face, but it doesn't stress him out too much. He's just more like, yeah, if I can turn away from it, I'll just do that. But I don't think he actually cares that much about it. He's been around much brighter lights without having batted an eye or shown any sign that he cared that much about it. So I think the lights means that everything should be fine, even though he's turning away like that. Yeah. His body language is very relaxed. He's not stressed. He's not freaking out. He's not holding his head down. He's not trying to hide. He's not trying to escape. He's not overly tense or, showing any signs of upset or. So, I'm pretty comfortable that he's okay here. Obviously, you should always pay close attention to your dog and make sure that they're not getting too worked up or too possessive or too, just, oh my god, this is just too amazing, I just can't keep my mind, kind of going out of it. No. Some dogs find raw bones to be just such a prized possession that it's a little overwhelming the first few times they get it. So if you have a dog like that, you're going to need to work them slowly. I would start with a bone that's at least one level above their natural recreational bone. So for a dog like Benny, I would probably put a rack of at least 2 or 3 of these ribs as a bone that I knew that he would take a long time to get through. I might also go with a cow leg or a cow knuckle. Those would be pretty good for anything under Benny. Bigger than Benny, and they can probably get through a cow knuckle if they set their mind to it. And then I would put them in a crate where they're alone and secure and they can't do any harm to themselves or others. They feel safe, they can have the bone in there, enjoy it, no one will bother them, and they are left in peace to just eat the bone. And if you are so concerned that you can't leave the animal alone, put a camera in. I don't care, put an anti-cam in, do whatever you need to do, but leave the animal alone. Let them just eat with the bone, like that's something like that. Make sure you have a top value treat, and when you take them out of the crate, that you go out for a walk or something really big for them, so that you can easily distract them and get them out of the house and away from the bone that you just had in there with them. If it's only been a little while, then you can put it back, especially if it's still frozen, you can put it back in the freezer for them for another time. If it's not still frozen, then I would probably just toss it. Depends how long you go between intervals. If you expect to do another training session in an hour, then you can probably get away with putting it in the freezer and taking it out again, but if you're going to go a couple of days, then I would just toss it. And one of the advantages of having it be frozen beforehand and frozen solid is that when you do these kind of trainings, you can pop it back in the freezer, and then bring it out again when it's frozen solid, and just by making sure to keep it frozen, you can buy a few training sessions out of it. But the dog has to learn to just relax and breathe, and that the food and the toy or treat, whatever, is gonna be there. They're gonna enjoy it. They don't need to freak out. And once they're showing themselves to be stable that way, I would start with just like letting them know that you're in the area around the door, but not opening the door, and still have everything be calm. And then maybe I would open the door a little bit and show that I was there, but I wouldn't ever approach, and then I would go for a bit like that. And once the dog was calm and comfortable with that, then I would go up to maybe standing in the door, slowly working my way progressively closer at the dog's comfort level. They may have setbacks, they may have leaps forward. You gotta take them at their level. Try to keep it a positive experience. You don't want them to stress or think that you're going to be freaking out on them or they're going to lose it. You don't want them to see you as a danger. You want to see them to see you as a positive. Yeah. If you haven't already taught your dogs that you can take things from them, that they'll get things and give them, you have to do it in a very careful, staged process. You can't just rush things. You gotta take it at the dog's pace. Ideally, you've worked the dog long before now, and this isn't the first time that they've gotten a prized object and that they're okay with giving it up and whatnot. You, if the dog isn't already adequately stable with those measures, sorry, then you're gonna need to what's the word? You're gonna need to start doing remedial work and get them used to things like this. It's not really a reasonable solution to the issue of possessive behavior to not give them anything of a prized value ever again. That won't solve anything, and the dog will create prizes out of other seemingly mundane objects. You need to get to the root of what's going on with it. And maybe that's you're playing other mind games with the dog. I know a lot of other people seem to think that it's a positive or fun thing to do with their dog to play mind tricks and whatnot. It's never really that great of an idea. It's one thing that maybe once or twice in a blue moon that you show a dog a magic trick or something, but where the rest of their world is very predictable and they don't think they don't think that you're screwing with them on a regular basis. If they think you're screwing with them, they will not trust you. Benny, get it out of there. Thank you. I prefer to keep it closer to the center where it's not going to get out. And it is a bit messy, so it might be something you feed outdoors or in the crate or on a blanket or on the floor in a place where you feel comfortable cleaning it or whatever. But it is a little messy. It's not as messy as some things. It's pretty low mess relatively, but there is some mess to be aware of, so you wouldn't necessarily want to feed it on furniture. But there's pretty minimal staining or mess at the end. If you do it on a blanket like this, then you can just throw the blanket in the washing machine at the end, and it's easy to contain the mess. When I'm out and about, I have a rubber mat. Benny, hey, get it out of there. Thank you. Anyways, yeah, I have a rubber mat when I'm out and about that I can feed him it on, so that I can keep the mess contained and he can still enjoy a treat. Yeah. Once you've got the dog totally comfortable that, he's secure, he's not... Hey, get it out of there. Out now. Thank you. Good boy. Once you're fully comfortable that the dog is secure and doesn't think that you're going to freak out and take it away, or that they're going to have to fight for it, or whatever, that whatever treat they get, and they get to keep for the 99.999% of circumstances. And any other circumstances, they'll get to trade it for something even better. They'll be willing to work with you. You want the dog to be totally relaxed when you do that kind of training, though. And you want it to be at the dog's natural pace. If you're going to be wanting to feed in a specific place or location or way, it's going to be important that you establish that from day one. If you wait until, you've been always feeding the kitchen floor and then you decide, oh, I'm having a kid, now I don't want to have the dog eating in the kitchen, especially on the kitchen floor my kid's walking around on, it'll be a lot more difficult to change mid-flow than it would be to just have taught the dog from day one to eat on a mat like this. So, keep that in mind when you're considering what you do and how you are operating. Now, one of the reasons I'm using Benny as a model here is I know I've gone through all the stages of the varying different bits of work I need to do with him to make sure that it's safe and it's not going to be a stress on him. You have to understand, especially the bigger the dog, that they have high risks of dying through GDV or bloat, and the last thing you want is that to happen. And it's been associated with episodes of stress, so making mealtime stressful for the dog increases the likelihood that they will be killed in a very excruciating fashion. So, you really have to be vigilant about keeping things as cool and calm as you can make them. And most dogs, the act of filming them while they're eating has the risk of inducing anxiety about their food. It's very clear that you're fixated on them while they're eating. It's unusual behavior. It's around a treasured object, etc. These are all things that make the relative risk of having the dog have threat displays or possessive behavior or aggression are relatively high. And so you want to be vigilant that that's not going to put your dog in that position. Now, Benny is experienced in both filming and while he's eating, despite the environment and the situation. He's really laid back when it comes to eating, so I'm pretty comfortable that knowing him, he's not showing signs that he's stressed about this at all. He's just happily working through the bone like he usually does. But not every dog is going to react this way to being filmed while they eat. So you want to be respectful and vigilant about that if you're going to do something like this. And I want you to be aware that I am being that kind of respectful and vigilant. And I hope that you guys would choose to be as respectful and vigilant as I'm trying to be. But just watch the dog's body language. Watch their posture line. Watch how they're moving. What kind of sounds they're making. Are they focused on the bone or are they focused on you? Or even worse, are they fixated on you while being obsessed over the bone? That's a pretty dangerous situation. That usually results in the dog trying to cover the bone with their body or their throat, and sometimes their head, and trying to stare down the threat that they would see. You see, he isn't paying very much attention to us. He's totally 100% into that bone. We're incidental. You know. So, this is a pretty good circus for him. Is that good, Benny? You see this motion this effect he's doing with his teeth, where he's basically scraping his front teeth against the bone. This is a very important step that they do to help clean their teeth. So that's why these kind of bones with these tissues that are mostly gone, but that there's a little tiny bit remaining, are so important for the dog to be able to use it to clean their teeth as effectively as they do. It's kind of funny, but Benny is effectively an athlete in terms of his capacity and skill in his ability to chew and break through bone and eat raw foods and things like this. Um, he has been doing so since he was a baby. He has he had mom's milk, and then after mom's milk, he had a little bit of puppy chow combined with mom's milk and raw chicken and various bits and raw food that he managed to eat in the fields that he was a farm dog puppy in. And then by the time he had had more than like maybe 10% of his diet from puppy chow and 90% from mom's milk and the random other bits that he would eat, including various bits of chicken and raw bones and other things that he consumes. He was already in a largely raw environment anyways, so the puppy chow was mainly just a bit of extra nutrition to help give them an extra boost. In addition to their other stuff, they were mainly being transitioned to be on raw anyways, so Benny grew up in a raw family where he saw his mom and dad and his brothers and sisters all eating this stuff, and he went to town at it too. And now he can get through almost anything. And he's incredibly resourceful at being able to strip every last little bit off of every bit of bone and get the marrow out, and he seems to instinctively know the difference between, say, a bone where he can break through like this and eat the entirety, versus, say, a cow's leg bone, which he just focus on trying to get marrow inside without trying to break through. He would chew on it a bit because he likes to chew, but nothing like he does when he goes to town on something that he knows he's going to break through the marrow in. So, relatively speaking, he gets through things a lot faster than most dogs will get through them. Even a dog his size and abilities, especially if that dog's only ever been fed dry dog food. That, like, for example, a dog Benny's size who's only been fed like dog food, I would expect that this would probably not even be able. They wouldn't even be able to break through. They might, over time, like days and days, be able to grind through a bit. But you'll find that they wouldn't have the ability to actually even begin to break through this. It would be effectively the way Benny treats a leg bone. It takes a lot of power to break through even a cow's rib. A lamb or a goat, Benny could easily shatter straight through. But a cow, he has to break it down the way he's breaking it down now. A little bit at the end, going from each end, cracking little bits off at a time. And for a raw bone that is consumed, that's pretty good to ideal too, especially the newbie levels. Um, Benny being an expert, he can handle a lot of other products that might not be as ideal or in the sweet spot. But that's because he has the understanding and the knowledge and the skills to process it down correctly. So you want to start with things that are really easy, like things like chicken, turkey necks, ribs, like this, etc. Slowly introducing things that they can eat the entirety of, and keeping a distinct difference between the two while you're teaching, and you can get to the point where eventually your dog will be mostly like Benny. Alternatively, by that point, Benny will be even further ahead. But that's because he's in a different environment where he's being trained 24/7. So he's always surpassing whatever level he's at now. And a little bit from now, he'll be even further ahead. It really is amazing just what they're capable of and what we see them do on a regular basis. And yet, despite the fact that his meals, obviously this isn't a meal, this is a recreational bone, he's both had and will have a fair bit of meat before and after this. But you gotta be careful. You don't want the dog to, say, consume all of this bone in one sitting and then have little to nothing else. That would end up resulting in way too much bone in the bowel and in the digestive system at any given time. So, if you're going to feed this as a recreational bone, make sure you feed a bit heavier of a meat diet. Say you might feed an entire chicken as opposed to just a chicken carcass kind of thing. But you want to make sure that you don't just feed a lot of bone, because bone is an indigestible fiber, and it will cause problems if you feed only bone. The dog, it'll basically be like cement, and it'll chew straight through the dog's digestive system. So that's the only reason that I'm allowing him to have access to this bone and continue chewing on it long past, say, just having a bit of a chew on it for 10-20 minutes and then taking it away kind of thing. I know that he's both consumed a lot of meat already today, and he is going to consume a lot more meat in a bit. So, Benny, let's go. Get it out of there. Come on. Let's go. Get it out of there. Thank you. Just getting too close to the edge. And that's training. It's always reinforcing the rules. Patient, but over and over again. Yeah. Same with the teacher in the classroom. It's, he's the pupil, I'm the teacher. I've just got to be patient and keep reminding him what the rule is. And is that good? If you notice, he's always working different spots. He's always chewing it in different ways, holding it in slightly different angles. He's really systematically, effectively brushing his teeth. Well, I doubt he's intellectually thinking, brushing my teeth. Better keep my molars in good condition so I can get through these bone. I think he's just working his way through the bone and using his teeth to the maximum efficiency. It just has the byproduct effect of brushing his teeth. It's just pretty amazing to watch them so systematically and with considerable effort to work through all of these kind of things. Now, specifically with this rib bone, it's very thin. It's got a lot of surface area for its bulk. And the amount of time it takes to get through any significant portion of it means it's something that I'd probably, for Benny, just leave around for him to chew on throughout the day. And one of the things that makes... Sorry guys, looks like I might have lost you there for a minute. Do the best I can. Not sure when I lost you last. Sorry guys. I'm no videographer, guys. I'm doing the best I can. But one of the things he does as a focus in the beginning is he strips all of the soft tissue off of the bone, and he gets it down to just the bone and marrow quite quickly. So I know that there's not a lot that really can rot, kind of thing, or go bad, relatively speaking, left on the bone. He goes to quite efforts to pick it clean. So I know long before it can have defrosted and start becoming a problem, he's already removed all of those bits. So I can get away with leaving this bone out for longer than I would leave a roast or a chicken or whatever. I would really plan that it can be done a long time ago. But it is what it is. Some people, once they decide the dog is done with this bone, will take it away and throw it away altogether. Some will feel comfortable leaving it with the dog. It depends on how comfortable the dog is with having this. You really have to kind of judge your dog and the circumstances your dog's in. I may or may not choose to leave it with him. Let him continue to chew on it for a bit longer. It'll depend how much he's gone through. If he gets down to like a little nub, I'll probably just take it away from him. Whether he does that quickly or in the little longer but not long term, is really up to him. But if it's out for any significant length of time, I'll probably just toss it. Partially it'll depend on what the environment he's actually chewing this in. If it's outside, there'll be more stuff to get problematic than if he's in his crate, kind of thing. But if it's really hot, the time goes down. The cooler it is, the longer it takes. So keep that in mind. mean, given the rate he's gone through this, I'm estimating that he could probably be done this in under an hour and a half. I doubt I'll film the entire thing just because, you know, I don't think you need to see an hour and a half of him chewing the bone to know how long it takes him to get through the bone. I'll do my best to try to maybe film the very end, so you get to see how he gets through the last bits of it and how I treat the final pieces, where I draw the line, etc. It sort of depends on the dog and the size of their body and the size of the particular bone I'm dealing with. In this case, because it's long and thin, it has more potential to, say, get caught in the throat, especially the smaller it gets. So most people would say about the width of the dog's muzzle is the smallest you want it to get, because then they can get it entirely in their mouth. There's some validity to that. Some will say the length of the dog's muzzle. Some will say anything that they can close their mouth around entirely. It's basically, what is your comfort level? What is the dog's experience? How does the dog normally behave in these kind of circumstances? Are they possessive? And the first few rotations of this, the dog may be really excitable and have find this like such a huge prized object that they don't know what to do with themselves. But the more frequently that they get it and the more experiences they get it with it, the more they'll realize that it is a huge prize. They don't need to freak out. You know, it's not the end of the world. There's more coming. You know. So yeah, it's really just, you gotta keep an eye on these things. Take it one step at a time. Stay positive. You'll make it through. I'm trying to just wait through Benny's first chew session on it. I figure he'll probably walk away from it for a little bit at some point. But I'm trying to get as much of his chew session on it as I can. He's already given me his first sign that he's not totally into it 100% anymore, because he stopped and he looked at me and checked out his surroundings. Of course, it's still a prized object and still went back to it, but for that split second, his brain had stopped fixating entirely on whoo-hoo-hoo, and went back to, oh wow, there's other things in this world besides this. That's basically what's going on in the dog's brain. This is one of the reasons you don't want to push them too much or mistreat them during these times, because they really can't handle it. Their brain is just barely processing that this amazing thing is happening and that they are in heaven and that they want to eat this right now. And they know that they can't eat it instantly, so that there's going to be a continuous threat until they are able to eat it. Otherwise, it could disappear at any point. So, you gotta be respectful of this. As you can see, he's starting to already go back to, hey, oh yeah, there's other things in this world. Right now, those other things happen to be, ooh, there might be little bits of fat and meat that I missed. I better go and check. But, if this is the first time your dog's ever had this, it's really important that you just let them have it and be at peace without any harassment. If you regularly do this, then it's even more important that you're capable of approaching the dog without the dog being stressed about anything. You know, you can see him petting him and giving a scritch, and he's not at all stressed by that. He does not in any way view me as a threat to his food or something he has to worry about. Not every dog is at this point, and you gotta respect where the dog's at. Hey, Ben? Hey? Give it to me? Thank you. Good boy. Like, we're at the point where he'll even give it to me freely and let me hold it, and he's not stressed about anything about it. But you gotta respect the dog, and yeah, he knows that I'm not a danger to him. If I'm taking anything away from him, he knows that I'm going to be doing it for a good reason, and he'll get an even better treat. So, he doesn't think he's losing out. But I can at the same time. Good boy. Get near his mouth, give him a scritch. Good boy. But I can do that because I've built the relationship with him already. I've done the training, I've done the work. I do not recommend that you do any of this if you have not already put in the years of effort. You will, if you might get away with it with one dog, you might get away with it with a couple dogs. One of these days, you'll get your face torn off if you make a habit of this, and, you know, harassing the dog while they're eating. Eventually, you'll do it to the wrong dog in the wrong time. So, definitely respect the dog, and respect that you're dealing with a powerful, living, sentient creature with their own opinions on the subject. And that this is very, very, very valuable to them. Good boy. You notice the jowls are relaxed. He's not stressed. Ears are relaxed. I mean, he's aware, but he's totally cares mostly about the bone. Yeah, you're a good boy. I'm gonna end this video by showing you a bit of a trade-off, just to show you how to end this properly and safely. And we'll just do a quick rabbit foot. It's a good thing for him to have had with the bone. Sorry guys, I'm just gonna have to put you down for 1 quick second. Sorry guys, I just needed to put you down for a second. Benny's already kind of excited because he has some idea about what's happening. Nice. What's that? I'll try to get him back onto the bone. Good boy. You can't trick Benny, he's too smart, but I'll try to get him to go back to his bone. Yeah, is that good, Benny? Yeah, thank you. See, he's totally cool with me touching it and handling it and taking it away. Yeah. Yeah, he's already aware that there's going to be something pretty good coming, so nothing's gonna surprise him. I'll just, but once the dog has given up the treat, when you're beginning to this game of trading, make sure you provide the treat in view when you're taking the prized object away. And then you, once they have their eyes on the prized object, you offer it to them, and when they're taking it, you take the bone and put the bone out of sight. And then they get to finish their treat, and only the treat's in sight. You want them to stay calm and positive and relaxed. No stress. Life is fine. And Benny is about the ideal outcome you're hoping for. He just gets up and goes and looks and has a stretch, maybe goes and have a drink. But you have a wonderful day, and we're going to probably end this here. You have a good day now.
Good boy, it's okay.
I just thought I'd let you... I know I promised that I would try to get some record of the bone before I took it away for good. He has been happily chewing on it for a few hours. So I would say this gave him basically about 30-45 minutes of engaged chewing time, and then over the next, say, 6 hours, he maybe spent a total of an hour to 2 hours on it. Just picking it up, chew it for a few minutes, put it down, leave it for a while, come back, chew on it for a few minutes, sort of thing. And over that time, he has now progressed down to this kind of tiny little bit. I'm going to be taking it away from him momentarily. Once it gets down to about this size, anything smaller than his paw, basically, give or take, I'll take it away about now. Theoretically, he could get that entirely in his mouth and theoretically choke on it at that stage. So this is about the stage that I'll take it away from him. And in doing so, I'll do another repeat of our trading game so that you guys can witness it and see the trade. When I traded from him a little while ago, I gave it back to him within 30 seconds, a minute of having it. In this case, he'll be trading it and losing it for good, but he will be fine with that. There's plenty more treats and games in this world to play. So basically, I was thinking I'd do a chicken foot, or a duck foot, the reward for our trade. And I think he's already cued into that. Oh yeah. Get it? Give. You see he's watching the treat right now. Sorry guys. And he knows that now that he gave me it, I trade it. Good boy. And I throw out the small piece of bone or whatever, and he enjoys the treat. By the time he's done this and he comes back to check in, the bone is gone, and he moves on. If your dog's particularly fixated, I would get it out of the house. They're smart, they can find things. So if you just put it in the trash, it might encourage them to go and dig in the trash. So if you have those kind of dogs, it's better just to take it away for good. So anyways, I'll add this to the end of the video. I just thought I'd let you know about the end, like I promised. So anyways, you have a wonderful day, and I hope you all have a good day, and we'll see you around, I'm sure. Just for reference, the longer the bone stays out, the more it dries and the harder it gets. So bones with structural, for large animals that have structural bones like leg bones and stuff, Yes, Benny, you're a good boy. See? Nothing there. See what I mean when I told you he would come over and check and make sure that there's no more, that he's not getting it back? Yeah, I know, you're still not getting it, even with the paw. So, yeah, y'all have a wonderful day, and enjoy.